Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of CAP's AGM. I'm not sure we can fulfill or exceed yesterday's agenda and information and excitement and camaraderie and banquet and all the rest of it, but we're going to start this morning with one of the features that we had yesterday, and I'll ask Jeff to come up and get us started and motivated and all the rest of it. So hopefully your eyes are open, your ears are open, and your coffee cups are full, because I'm sure Jeff's got some information for us. So,
good morning. So last night was really fascinating because after I was done, I had the opportunity to speak with a number of you. And I think one of my favorite conversations was discovering that Snow White was originally from Winnipeg. How many of you already knew this? And some of you were who I talked to last night. And I got to thinking about this, and it makes sense because the entire time I've been here, it's been nothing but, well, white outside. And it wouldn't be hard to convince me that snow was invented here. So, the connection makes total sense. But come to find out, an animator by the name of Charlie Thorson had a crush on a waitress at a cafe here in Winnipeg, and he would go on to work for Disney and use her as the model for what would become Snow White in the famous movie that was released in December of 1937. Here's my point. When I was in graduate school, my favorite professor, a fellow by the name of Dr. Stanley Nelson, said to us one day in class, the saddest day of his life was the day that he graduated with his PhD. The saddest day of his life. And the reason why is he was overwhelmed by how much he did not know. He was graduating with a PhD. He was at the top of his academic accomplishments. And yet he was saddened by the realization of how much he did not know. And so I was thrilled last night to learn something that I did not know. So thank you for sharing that with me. And it also reminded me of some of my favorite stories with Disney Imagineers and Disney legends. Walt's greatest gift, besides being a storyteller, was he was a phenomenal orchestrator of talent. He wasn't a particularly gifted animator or cartoonist. He wanted to be an actor, never really succeeded in that particular area or venue. And when it came to being an amusement park operator, he didn't build any of the attractions. In fact, the only attraction single-handedly designed by Walt Disney himself is Tom Sawyer Island. Everything else was designed and built and constructed by the team that he put together. Walt was phenomenal at recognizing talent, hiring amazing people, training them well, giving them the vision, and then letting them go. And over the years, as I've had the opportunity to interview these individuals, they will say to me, Walt saw in me talent and ability and potential that I never knew that I had. So, for example, Pirates of the Caribbean, which we sang about last night, the song comes from a fellow by the name of Existencio. And as they were designing that particular attraction, Walt tapped Existencio to write the now famous song that we associate with Pirates of the Caribbean, Yo Ho, Yo Ho, a pirate's life for me. And Existencio's response was, Walt, I've never written a song lyric in my life. I have no idea how to do this. And Walt's response was, well, it's time you learn. His other favorite Imagineer, a fellow by the name of John Hinch, for their 10-year anniversary, Walt wanted a fine dining establishment at the end of Main Street. And think about that for just a moment. We're talking about a fine dining establishment with chandeliers in the middle of an amusement park. It's called the Plaza Inn, and Walt taps John Hinch to design this restaurant. And John Hinch, who had done so much of what we love at Disneyland, responds to Walt, Walt, I've helped with Main Street, I've helped with Sleeping Beauty Castle, I've helped with Fantasyland. I have no idea how to design a restaurant. I've never designed a restaurant in my life. And Walt's response was, it's time you learn. And so the point of this is we move forward in our life when we recognize what we do not know and get comfortable with that and acknowledge the fact that just because we don't yet know it doesn't mean that it's not yet what? Time we learn. And so the way we move forward, the way we progress, the way we level up is by being open to the opportunities in front of us and learn what we do not yet know. I had a QR code up last night. Can we get that up again this morning, please? I have a weekly blog that is available every Wednesdays. I call it Wednesdays with Walt because WED, which is how you start the word Wednesday, originally was the name for Imagineering. WED stood for Walter Elias Disney. And the idea behind Wednesdays with Walt is to send weekly inspiration, weekly motivation, weekly stories that can help you in your life and in your business to help you level up. And I love sharing with Disney fans stories that you don't know about. And in the not too distant future, the connection between Snow White and Winnipeg is going to appear in a Wednesdays with Walt blog. So if you want to stay up with me, stay up with the wisdom of Walt, please go ahead and sign up, and I would love to hear from you in the future, and I look forward to talking to you after lunch. Have a great morning.